Hi everyone, Isabella here from Port Moody, sending hugs and good wishes to everyone that I can't really see right now. I wanted to thank Joseph for inviting me to perform at Versus Fest and to all of the committee organizers and festival organizers and volunteers who had put a lot of time and effort into planning this festival. And like many festivals around, I guess, the world right now, they're kind of canceled or being moved online. And so I've seen a lot of people, on various digital platforms give readings. And so I guess here's my turn right now. Just as we're talking, I'm getting ready to take my cat to the hospital again. So it's kind of like a weird time, trying to think and not really being able to. But I'm sure many of you are feeling the same way right now. But at least we have poetry. So I'm going to do something a bit different today and read from some two journals that I recently got published in. And it'll be nice to be able to read these because I haven't really had the chance to share these works yet. So I'm excited to be able to share it with you. The first one is from Prairie Fire, and I'm holding it sideways because the poem is actually printed sideways because it's really long, which is kind of cool. And it's two ghazals. Ghazal for my grandmother. She forgot to close the curtains on the day I left. Her eyes trailed my back, 2 blocks to the street curb where I turned, never letting go of the curtains. The purple vase on the kitchen counter sat without flowers. We left it there to collect dust. My pupils were so dark they scared her, absorbed light in through the curtains. At the hospital where she did her intake, they handed her a blue gown that left her back exposed. She came out a different woman from behind the curtains. I had to grind the pills in her food. She couldn't swallow. That evening she soiled the bed again. There was no more comforters, so I removed one of the curtains. I was 6. I tell her I'll be back from school. She doesn't seem to know that. She stays in the same spot, brightened from being on this side of the daffodil curtains. Ghazal for heirloom family recipes. My grandmother taught me 5 different ways to deflesh a bitter gourd, how to scrape off the residue left from seeds so it would taste less bitter. Recipe for old-fashioned liquor. Replace the sugar cube with elderberries. In an ice-filled mixing glass, stir bourbon, Saint-Germain, and bitters. The best coffee was served to me by a young woman at the Ethiopian cafe. It was sweet on its own, and permeated all the necessary tinges of bitterness. When you leave water in a cup for too long, it evaporates. Can't say the same about honey, but it's beginning to clump. Tea leaves turn bitter. My grandfather died while eating crab and with red wine. Heart attack. This is a spell we are currently under, but I promise it won't stay bitter. I've been writing a lot about my grandmother lately, someone who has kind of a special place in my life, but has also been missing for the longest time. So I've been writing a lot about her and also the stories that she's kind of told me, and also reading a lot of other works, mostly creative nonfiction of other people writing about their grandmothers. So here's to all the grandmothers out there. And this next one is from Grain, and I guess it's quite seasonal given the title. This is spring. The petals of wild cherry blossoms, Yinghua, bleed by the warmth of my hands. In my hand, a gourd erupts to fill the calligraphy of the earth's expanding frame. From between the meadow and the Clark's nutcracker perched on a raft, it opens and closes to weave together the contrapuntal elements of our terraformed song. Another winter has gone, the late season. Tiger lilies remodeled by the fragrance of vanilla and honey. My cousin's sweet coconut bun oozing with lemon meringue cream. A toboggan leans by the side of the hill from 7 winters ago. Before leaving for China, my cousin takes me to a Chinese diner so I will remember. You can season fried pickerel with soy sauce, she demonstrates, down the orifice of the fish's gnathic bone. This trick taught to her by the family in my family because I headed west. My skirt torn by the brambles of a blackberry bush as we say goodbye. Hey May, she mouths the words. Hey May. Blackberries. The pinyin not unlike English, so I can still pronounce the words on the edge of my tongue. The berry still hard. I squeeze, staining the topography of her palms red. And so lastly, I guess, I'm going to read 1 or 2 poems from my most recent chapbook that came out in 2019, Unforgetting a Language. Because this was, after all, supposed to be also a book launch with Leanne Dunnick, whom I miss a lot. So, Leanne, if you're out there and watching, hi. Let's see, what should I read? Throwback to 2 summers ago, when there was quite a lot of smoke everywhere and it was kind of hard to breathe. It's been weeks of forest fires. It's been weeks without a poem, and you wonder how you're still getting invited to readings. Haven't they figured you out by now? You bring the same year-old poems and read until words that hurt like the thorns of a blackberry bush lose meaning. Outside, sunflowers bobble upward in advance. Wasps burrow inside the flowering pods of figs that blossom and soften in your neighbor's yard. After days of eat and sleep, sleep and eat, repeat, you learn there are things you can't numb away, and everything else fades. Contents of late passing days you can't recall, except waking at 2 a.m. each night, to the chortle of crickets through sealed screens, low hem of mosquito melody, the mild itch lining your arms and buttocks, spreading like wildfire in the smoky haze. The hue of the moon turned bright red as the blood you coughed up from chugging liters of sour kombucha that doesn't suppress but stings like vodka. Past the seawall, there are geese riding waves under skies that have turned the color of the sea to muck, though it's not yet Halloween. It's been weeks without rain. The heirloom cherry tomatoes in your garden burst and plummet like dead mosquitoes against window ledge. In this summer, more bountiful than any you can harvest, as lettuce leaves wilt, gnawed by buzzing insect life, colonies of ants, a bottle fly. And I'm gonna read one more. Since my voice is kind of cracking up. But thank you for listening. It's been a pleasure to read for all of you for the first time in a long time. Late. Everything's late this year. Nothing's dissolved since my last visit to Waterloo. An evening at the park staring at geese. and we took turns pushing each other on swings, pretending we were children. I walked him to his dorm, low moan of elevator rails grinding as we waved goodbye, steel door sliding shut in between us. Another ice storm starts, and it's snowing again. In Waterloo, they call it a second winter. I call to check if he's still alive, send recipe links for udon and majadara, video instructions of someone cutting an onion. He texts me weeks later, saying I need to chill. It is not really a storm, just regular rain with a bit of wind and ice. Here in Vancouver, sun and snow at a standstill, scent of cropped grass and gasoline in the rain. Flakes of cherry blossoms bloom and fall to dust barren sidewalks. The blackbirds resolve to nesting on lampposts. The kitchen smelled like burnt manure the day a van mowed 26 sidewalk pedestrians in Toronto. I left sage leaves in the oven for too long. The news shrugs off misogyny, labels suspect as mentally ill, a man not loved by enough women. They say there are still good people in the world. 10 dead, seats offered on subways. A man stoops to collect groceries spilling out of a woman's bag. Strangers wish each other good night. He texts me good night from Waterloo, sends me our favorite emoji, the blue fish, tells me there's talk of peace. The North and South Korean leaders shook hands. We lose custody of a red elder to our neighbor, whose son smokes marijuana on the porch every night. Threatens to kick my dog's head off if it doesn't shut up. Bare branches stick out in the neighborhood like thick cobwebs in the ripening heat of May. The tree would not bud. I watched them remove it from my bedroom window. The bird's nest falling. It's spring. Dad still hasn't come back. So, yeah, that's about it. Thank you all again so much for listening. And I hope these days are kind to you and that you're able to feel supported and stay healthy and find some way to stay connected to the world. My friend and I are kind of doing this questionnaire and giving each other prompts to talk about and things to do, I guess. So here's one for you. Make a bucket list of things that you want to experience or try for the first time in your life that is plausible within the limitations of quarantine conditions, and go get it. Cheers, everyone.